Today we are continuing our weekly travel series, The Journey, brought to you by AIG. Joining us now is Rhonda Sloan, Global Head of Travel Communications at AIG. Rhonda, welcome.
Thank you.
AIG launched the travel page for women in March for Women's History Month. Tell us a little bit about the launch of the site and what was the impetus for it.
Well, more women are traveling alone now than ever before, both for leisure and for business. So AIG Travel just felt it was important to educate them on the risks associated with traveling alone and provide them with information and tips on how to stay safe and avoid the possibility of becoming a victim of a crime.
Okay, so what are some of the specific recommendations, and specifically let's start, I guess, with hotels, right? Recommendations there.
Sure, well, definitely want to research your destination before you go, even if you're going on a business trip. Pick a hotel that's close to the area you need to be in, but check the neighborhood and make sure it's safe. I would recommend, if you're by yourself, to book a reputable hotel, a brand you know and trust. Make sure they have a 24-hour, front desk. Make sure they have appropriate security, monitoring, the doors and whatnot like that. So when you get there, when you check in, if they say your room number out loud when they're handing your keys, ask for another room, because you never know who's listening in the lobby. I always get a room on the floors between 3 and 6 because rooms on the first and second floors are easier to break into and get out of the hotel quickly. And I always ask for a room close to the elevator.
That's interesting, because I always ask for a room as far away from the elevator as possible, but I understand the motivation.
Right.
Curiously, is this something that women need to worry about writ large? Or does it really depend upon the destination and the kind of hotel they're staying at? I think it's sort of important for our viewers to understand whether this is something they should be worried about in London and Paris, or if they're traveling in remote Indonesia, for instance.
Right. I think in the world we live in today, it's something you need to worry about, not worry, but think about wherever you go. There's risk, and it's different depending on the destination. In London, maybe it's pickpockets, but in other areas, it could be express kidnapping or trying to break into your hotel room. And of course, sexual assault and things like that are something women should worry about no matter where they are.
And if you need a taxi to get around, of course, we know the taxi system is different in many places that you go, but what are the things that you should keep in mind in regards to transportation and taxis?
I would recommend, if you can arrange car service before you get there, to do that. Most companies, if you're going on corporate travel, have a car service they recommend. Sometimes hotels will come get you for about the same price as a taxi if you book it ahead of time. But if you have to get into a taxi, I would say put your location into your phone before you get in, so you can follow along on your map and know where you're going and know if somebody's going off route. Make a note of the taxi name, the driver's name, the number. And definitely, I don't know if you've ever noticed, when you get in a taxi, there was if they speak your language, they'll be, is this your first time here? And I always say, no, I've been here before on business or whatever, I want to say, but just I want to look confident. I want to look like I know where I am and I know where I'm going.
And obviously the topic du jour, but what about getting in an Uber as opposed to a taxi, where that car is being tracked and the location is logged and the drivers increasingly are under scrutiny to make sure they're abiding by the company's rules? Right.
I mean, again, you just need to be cautious, and I think my biggest tip would be trust your instincts. If you feel like something's not right, then it's probably not right.
Okay, what about social media? A lot of people, I think, they want to go on vacations partly to post all these photos to social media, the beautiful photos, have the location of where exactly they are, whether it's to brag or just to, update the friends and family at home.
Maybe this will eliminate some of the gratuitous Eiffel Tower photos, but continue.
So what are best practices there for social media in terms of making sure maybe your location isn't always out there in the public?
Right. So most people would warn you not to post on social media that you're going on vacation because they're worried about your house, being burglarized while you're gone. But if you're traveling alone, you also don't want people to know exactly where you are at this moment of this day. So I would turn off the geolocation services if you're going to post social, so they can't tell exactly what street or what restaurant. Don't check in. If you're going to post things, we would recommend that you post them after you get back.
So lots of throwback Thursdays and flashback Fridays.
Exactly.
Basically. What, in terms of survival kits, and obviously everybody's trying to pack light these days and not run around, not have to check luggage, but are there any specific things that someone should always be taking with them on a trip to make sure that they are appropriately protected?
Yeah, I travel a lot for business, so I always take a door wedge, which I know sounds weird, but I've been in several hotel rooms that didn't have a double lock. You know, so the door lock, the handle lock was the only lock on the door. So door wedge, you know, you can get them for $1 at, you know, Home Depot. They have some now that have alarms on them, so if the door moves, an alarm will go off. I also carry, obviously, a crossbody bag with a zipper top. You know, it helps with pickpocketing. I carry an RFID wallet. Cyber thieves are now stealing the information on the chips in your credit cards, so that's a good way to protect your personal information when you're walking around. And I always carry a power bank, just in case my phone runs out of charge. I have another several hours of battery.
Need that extra power sometimes.
Exactly.
My wife can't keep track of her phone at all, so the extra power is not going to help because there's nothing to plug it into.
Alrighty. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.
Appreciate the tips.
Rhonda Sloan, Global Head of Travel Communications at AIG. To find out more about the benefits of travel insurance, go to aig.com/travel.